أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Rabbi zidni ilma, oh Lord, increase my knowledge. Yesterday we learned the rules of Alam Jalala, also known as the majestic Lam, and today we're going to be learning about the tafhim and tarqiq sounds of Ra sakin. So Lam sakin we did yesterday, and we learned the tafkhim and tarqiq of lam sakin. Today we're doing a ra sakin, the sounding of ra, and it could be without sakin actually. So it's sounding a thick and thinness of ra. And I'm going to ask a student to join me and help me explain this rule. Meanwhile, if I could ask you to check that you are displaying the correct ID and the correct room number. So Jazakumullah to all of you that joined today and joined on time, teachers and students. Check your student ID and teacher ID, make sure it's displayed properly. And I will ask a student to help me read out the quote at the top of the screen. So if I presume if you've got your hand up, then you know what we're doing here and you're happy to help me read. Mahir, assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you, beta?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking. Can I ask you, everybody at home, to learn these rules and memorize them? And can I ask you, beta, to read the quote?
Okay. We should endeavor that not even a single person remains in our community who is not knowledgeable in the Holy Quran. Hazrat Muslim Maud Radiallahu Anhu, Anwarul Ulum, Volume 16, page 438.
Lovely. And also, if I can get you to read the question number 1, please, beta.
The letter Ra is conditionally sometimes tafkhim, but at other times it can be tarqiq.
Yes. So raw, we say raw, yeah? And it's number 2 is, can you continue with number 2, please, beta?
It is tafkhim when it is a maftu or madmum letter, as in Bismillah.
So tafkhim, when it is a maftu or maftu, and madmoon means if it's carrying a fatha and carrying a dhamma. It comes with a fatha. Here you can see the example. This one, raw, yeah? And ru. So would you like to read the examples for me?
Rafa'a ya'muru.
Yeah, that's nice and thick. Ya'muru. And raw. We don't want to say raw, that's too long. So we need to make sure it's short as well, because it's only one rafa'a. So I, when I used to learn this rule, then I wrote, what I did is, like a raw vegetable, yeah? Okay. So imagine a raw vegetable, a raw vegetable, yeah? Raw. Nice and thick, raw, yeah? Keep practicing that. So if it's got a maftu, which is, here you can see the example, it's got a fatha, and if it's carrying a fatha or a dhamma, which is maftu for fatha and madmun for dhamma, rafa'a and ya'muru. Okay. Jazakumullah, beta. Can you do the next one as well?
However, it is pronounced tarqiq when it is maksur.
Yeah, so maksur means, we can see the marking here. Yeah, this is kasra. Yeah. So can you read the example, beta?
Yarithu.
Yeah. Yarithu. Yeah. Okay, Jazakumullah. And also, can I get you to read the last one?
This is regardless of whether it is
bearing
a shadda or not.
Yeah. So whether it's got a shadda, you know what a shadda is, don't you? Shadda, you know, shadda is the little W sign, yeah, on top of a letter. So if it, regardless whether it's said as a shadda or not, it's going to be a thick or thin, whether it has got a fatah or a dhamma, and if it's got a kasra, then it's going to be thin, yeah. Similar to the lam sakin rule, with the lam jalala, it is thick when the name of Allah, you know, before the name of Allah we have fatah and a dhamma, and if before the name of Allah we have a kasra, it is thin, yeah. So think of kasra as thin and fatah and dhamma as thick, and it's not a difficult rule for you to memorize, okay? But just remember raw, as in raw vegetable. That's how I remembered it. I kind of, when I want to memorize things, obviously you have to memorize these, and it's very important that you memorize them, because you know this is what's going to help you. But you also have to read them in practice. So at home, when you're doing your Quran reading stages, it's very important that you know that you practice these rules, because the examiner wants to hear you. So she wants to hear the rules and hear the sounds as well that you're able to recite. Okay, so it's coming up to time for Tilawat. So I would ask you to please join classes on time. Prepare for classes by, preparing by, doing your ablution. You'll come in full wudu, your hands, your tea. Your clothes should be clean when you read the Holy Quran. You should ensure that you eat and drink before your classes, and also visit the bathroom before and then do your wudu. And then make sure that you join from a laptop and or maybe a larger screen laptop, computer or an iPad, that's fine. Try not to use your iPhone unless it's absolutely necessary, or any phones. Please ensure that you bring a pen and pencil with you, you write the notes, that your head's covered, like I said before, and please ensure that you stay till the end, dua, and make sure that before you join, that your student ID and your room number is displayed quickly. You can have a sip of water, but no eating or drinking in classes. Read loud, follow the teacher, do not go away, remain alert and attentive. These classes for your benefit, so it's best for you to give give it your best by making lots of notes and revising. Look at your student handout, read your student handout, and give your QRS reading stages to your teacher. Okay, and I will pass you on to MCL, and Jazakumullah for me.
Jazakumullah, Mrs. Shakil, for that. What a lovely tip you've given them about the raw vegetable. Excellent. And I hope that all the students who joined earlier have benefited from your lovely tips. Now then, I'm just going to find out who's doing tilawah today. I believe a student from row 13. And his name is Akib Ahmed. So everybody, kindly lower your hands, because we need to find this student. And if he's not here, then I need a volunteer today. Ideally a teacher, I think. So everyone lower your hands, and I'm going to look for my student who was supposed to do tilawah today. No, he's not here. Okay, he'll have a go tomorrow. All right then, teachers. Who would like to recite today's? Let me share my screen first while you think about if you want to do tilawah in the main session. Excellent. So we are week 13, day 3, Wednesday. So surah for your Hifz surah is Al-Lahab. So Mrs. Shakil will recite, and she'll pause at the verse end. Remember, Waqfut Tam, and then you all recite at home after her. Okay. So start when you're ready, Mrs. Shakil. Jazakumullah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب. ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب. سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد. Jazakumullah, can you hear me clearly? Okay. Okay, so basically, we know that we've been learning tafkhim, which means heaviness and thickness. Tafkhim. So we know tafkhim letters are also known as mukhaffam letters because they're elevated, okay? The sound is elevated and they're permanently think letters, and we can see them in red. Qua, quad, dod, do, ro, ghoin, qaf. And it's important to learn these letters. Now, some of the letters are conditionally thick, like lam and ra. When lam and ra are accompanied or bearing a fatha and a dhamma, they'll be recited in a thick sound. But with lam, we have to make sure that we're using it, you know, we're careful. And this is the name of Allah. And before the name of Allah, we have a fatha and a dhamma, and then we recite it thickly. Tarqiq means lightness, thinness, and murakkak letters are light and thin. So tarqiq. Okay, so it's important to memorize this, and you can see this chart in front of you. We're okay if you want to take snapshots for your, you know, for your revision. So 7 permanently, always, and 3 conditionally, sometimes mukhaffam letters. So we have the lam and the ra and sometimes alif. Okay. So here you are. Okay, you've got a chart here in front of you. Okay. Now the letter ra is a conditionally tafkhim letter. Sometimes it's read as tafkhim and sometimes it's tarqiq. So we know if it comes with a kasra, then it's going to be thin, and it comes with a fatha and dhamma, as we said earlier, it will be recited with thickness, raw. And I gave you the example of the raw vegetable. Raw, as in English, we say raw vegetable. Okay. And how do we decide when it is to be read as tafkhim is when it, or to be read as tarqiq? Well, we look at the sign it carries. Like I said, if it comes with a fatha and dhamma, and you need to write these notes down, you know, you need to have a pen and pencil with you when you come to classes and write these notes down. It's important to read them afterwards. So we look at the harakat it carries, and that's how we establish whether we will give it a thick sound or a thin sound. Okay, so here we've got some examples in front of us, and I'm going to ask the students to join me. Jazba, assalamu alaikum. Jazba, how are you, beta?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Beta, can I ask you to kindly read these examples? Now, we know mufakham, ra, mufakham ra. This one here means, what does it mean? Thick or thin? What do you think? What do you think, beta? Thick. And murakkak, what does that mean?
Thin.
Thin. So we can read these examples. Yeah, will you do that with me?
Yes. Rabbana.
And would you like to read the little note?
Okay. Ra bearing fatha will be read as tafkhim. Rubama. Ra bearing dhamma will be read as tafkhim. An-nari. Ra bearing kasra will be read as tarqiq.
Lovely. Yeah, very nicely explained. And you know, and you read the examples very nicely. Stay there. I'm just going to change my screen. And here I've changed my screen. And this here we have Surah Ad-Duha. Ad-Duha. Yeah?
Yes.
Ad-Duha. Sorry, Ad-Duha. And this is chapter 93. And there's some examples here. And we'll start with Bismillah actually. Can you read this one for me?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Okay, so here we can change, enhance. Rahmanirrahim. Rahmanirrahim. Raw, raw. As I said earlier, how I learnt it is when I was a student, my teacher used to tell me, and I had an Urdu teacher, by the way, a lovely Urdu teacher, and I used to like draw diagrams and things, and I used to put raw, 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 yeah, raw. Raw as in raw vegetable, raw, yeah,
Yeah.
raw, yeah, and that would help me learn and revise that this is going to be this is how I would remember it's going to be. And when I used to read every day, I would make sure that I practice, especially Bismillah, because it's got raw twice, yeah, raw. So I want you just to repeat after me: Rahma
Rahmanirrahim.
Nirrahim. Yeah, and when you read Bismillah every day, now I want you to read it like this, yeah?
Okay.
And that will be your practice every single day. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for joining me. And it was lovely hearing your voice. And I hope you join me again, inshallah. I will ask another student to help me. If you know how to recite raw in a thick sound and you are confident enough, so keep your hands up. Just make sure my naughty pen works. Who have I got here? Right, today Hania has said that she would like to join me. Assalamu alaikum, Hania, beta.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, thank you for asking. Now, beta, see this word here. We just want to practice the word and not the whole ayat. So if you see this word here, this one that I'm circling, yeah? Oops.
Rabbuka.
Rabbuka, well done. And one more for me, please. Very good. Yes, Wiratu. Now here, would you say Rabbuka was taqim or tarqiq? What would you say? Is that Rabbuka? Is that tafkhim, thickness or thinness?
Tafkhim, thickness.
Well done. And khiratu?
Tafkhim, thickness.
Okay, so khiratu is also thickness. Yes, yes. And here we can see this example here. And it's okay to say you don't know, but the next word, okay? Here. Okay, hit this one. Now, can you tell me, can you read it for me? How would you read it?
Khayrul laka.
Yeah, and can you tell me, would this be lam jalala or not? What do you think? This lam, is it thick one or just thin?
I think it will be.
Yeah, thin. It will be thin because there's no name of Allah coming in this lam. Yeah, so it only applies thick. Raw lam is only and this raw here, would it be a thick raw? You know,
Yeah.
thick raw. Yeah, because of the dhamma. Yeah, because it's carrying a dhamma. Yeah. Okay, so that's wonderful. Jazakumullah. So remember the name. Jazakumullah. Well, lovely hearing your voice. And I'll ask you to join me again in the future. So here again, this word rob is again used for the name of Allah. Rabbu, only for the name of Allah it's used. Rabbu. You know, like when we said Rabbana, we say at duas, we start with Rabbana, Rabbana, and that's how I remembered the thick ra. Rabba, yeah. Okay. Rabba. So remember that, okay? So that's a good way of remembering the thick ra, okay? I'm going to change my screen. Just bear with me. So I think...
Mrs. Shakil.
Walaikum assalam. Are you back now?
Yeah, you can
Welcome
continue.
back.
You're doing a fine job, mashallah.
So we've just done a few examples here. And we read these examples. So if you want to teach say anything else, is it okay for me to talk about this here?
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we are learning the surah. This is our hifz surah, and we mustn't. Hifz means we learn by heart, and we learn from our with memory and by heart. But some of us already know these particular surahs. But it is important to learn these surahs by heart using the rules that we have learned in classes. So, for example, okay, unmute Betahania. Okay, so, oops. Right, so can you see my screen clearly?
Yes, we can. I've muted her as well.
Okay, so here, remember that, you know, when we're revising, we've learned all these rules in class, you know, where to elongate. If you have a pencil, what you can do, a good tip is to write down like one, you know, a strengthen here, you know, the mud at the top of the dal. Make sure sometimes we miss these things. You know, we know the idgham, and we know what to do when we finish on a ba mushaddad. Give it a strong jerk. And you know, you need to keep going and marking where there's 1 or 2 marks, and remember that. So when you're learning, you're doing your surahs, the swad is thick sound, and it's not like the scene. We need to know, you know, swad is like the saw, you know, and scene is the scene as in yes sound, okay, as in seesaw, and this is a saw bit, yeah. And then the thick sounds, raw being thick, we need to mark along when we're revising, and we can use a pencil if we like, yeah. Okay, and make sure that we press on this meme because there's a mushaddad, and also elongate it. And to is thick, like this ta we smile, and to we recite thickly. And so, you know, la tal, smile, and ha, press, you know, make sure that we push out some air. Ha, tob. La tal, ha, tob. Here, if you noticed, I had to round my lips slightly, elevate them to say tob, yeah? And also ensure that we do our idghams. Long, give some time, 2 seconds. We stop on this on 2 seconds. Have a long meme. Give these 2 seconds, these me, because we know there's a meme mushaddad. And you know, and make sure that we you know all the rules that we've learned in NL1 and LN2, we revise them. And a good idea is to get someone to listen to you. And also what you can do is listen to recording if you like. If you go to our Jamaat website, and you can listen to recording, and you can listen again and again, and get someone else to listen to you, maybe a parent or a sibling. So revise this by heart using the rules. Okay, so Jazakumullah, and from me. MCA, would you like to say anything?
And no, Jazakallah, you covered everything. So just to reiterate that Ra is our conditionally tafkhim letter. So there are 3 altogether. We've done Lam yesterday, which is Lamul-Jalala, and today we've done Ra. And remember, for Ra, you have to look at the sign. So we're talking about mutharik Ra, okay? And you look at the sign or harakat which it carries. If it's fatha or dhamma, you're going to say Ra. And if it carries kasra under it, then it's going to be light, Ri. Okay, and you're just going to practice that, and in your breakout rooms, your teachers will pronounce it. So if I say the letter Ra, maftuh letter, as light, I will say Rabbana, but I'm going to say Rabbana. So the difference between the thick Ra and light Ra, even when it has fatha, before knowing that this is the tafkhim, we used to say Rabbana, Rubama. Now you're going to say Rabbana, Rubama. But your ba is light letter, so only make your mouth rounder at Ra, and then smile when you say ba, because it's very easy to make the next letter thick sounding as well. Robba. Okay, but you're going to say Robba, ba. Okay, smile for the next one. Smiley letters. Okay, Jazakumullah for listening. Jazakumullah to Mrs. Shakil